Be a landlord without owning property. In this episode, I'm going to address how to make $50,000 a month renting real estate you don't even own. Get ready. So my name's Doug Andrew, and I've been a financial strategist for more than 47 years, helping thousands of people optimize their financial assets, minimize taxes, and empower what I call their authentic wealth. And oftentimes I will show people what I would do with my serious cash to increase the liquidity, the safety, the rate of return, and tax benefits. I use that using one of my favorite vehicles that I call the laser fund, which many real estate investors will use as their working capital account. And I'll explain that as we go through this episode. But a lot of people like to make money in real estate. Now, I'm not a real big real estate investor. Having said that, I probably own more real estate than most Americans do, but I would not consider myself a big real estate investor. I don't buy properties or rental units to be a landlord because I use my time for other purposes and I don't enjoy being a landlord. There's many times I have bought properties, fixed them up and flipped them and so forth. But there are people who absolutely love to do what I'm about to share with you, and because of the emergence of Airbnb, different types of sites and services, apps, where you can post your properties online and rent them out. But most people that I talk to go, well, I don't own any properties to rent out, or I'm living in my home, I don't own it, but I'm paying a mortgage on it, but golly, we do have an empty basement right now or an empty room, and that's how Airbnb got started. Air meant air mattress, just laying out an air mattress in San Francisco when they come up with the idea because of a big convention and there wasn't any lodging available. And so these people that were sort of hurting, they rented out a portion of their apartment and said, you can have an air mattress. And they called it Airbnb. And now look what's happened. They're responsible for more lodging, not only in America, but in the world. And they don't own a single property. So did you understand what I just said? So let me connect the dots and share with you how you can make $50,000 a month renting real estate that you don't even own. You don't have to own it. So let me, first of all, frame things. There's basically four things you can do with money. You can spend it, lend it, own with it, or give it away. A lot of people think, well, by far, the best way is to own your investment or own your real estate properties. That's okay, but I actually own and loan with my money. When you have your money in a bank, a credit union, or an insurance institution, it's in a lended position, right? Are they just a benevolent institution paying you interest? No. They're taking your money and they pay you a certain interest rate and they turn around and loan it back out again, sometimes 5 times that rate. Like banks pay you 1% interest to borrow your money, they turn around and loan it back at 5%, which is 5 times. Now, when it comes to real estate, there are 3 marvels of wealth accumulation. Compound interest is one. 2 is compounding tax-free. That's why many real estate investors who are savvy will keep their working capital account when they own or they rent out rental properties in a laser fund where it's liquid and safe, earning compounded rates of return in the 6 to 9% tax-free rate of return range, whereas the mortgages they're paying interest on, they borrow, let's say, at 4.5%, but it's tax deductible. And so in a 33% bracket, 4.5% on $1 million is $45,000, but they get to write that off on their taxes. And so the net cost is only $30,000 or 3%. So many savvy real estate investors, they will keep their money, their equity separated from the property, earning, 6%, 9% predictable rates of return tax-free. How much more is 9 than a net cost of 3 on the mortgage? It's 3 times as much. Every $1 million of real estate or real estate equity they keep separate, they're making 90 grand a year. And this is just the first year. It compounds after this. 90,000, and they're only paying 30,000. Would you hire an employee for 30 grand that made you an extra 90 grand? Okay, it's very simple. Here's the key for this video. Sometimes people think in order to rent out a property on an app like Airbnb that you have to own the property. No, If you have a mortgage, you don't own it technically yet, you're buying it. So why don't you just rent an apartment? Usually you can qualify to rent an apartment way easier than maybe qualifying for a mortgage. So let's say you find an apartment complex and you find a really nice 3-bedroom apartment that you can rent for $2,000 a month, okay? Now, in various areas in San Francisco, that'd be triple to 5 times that. But in a lot of areas in America, let's say a 3-bedroom apartment, you might be able to rent it for $1,500 to $2,500 a month. Let's just say $2,000 a month. So you rent it for $2,000 a month and you simply ask the landlord, okay, the manager, hey, if I rent this, can I sub-rent it? And if they say, sure, can I rent it out on a nightly or a daily or a 3-day basis? And many times they will say, no problem. So you rent an apartment for a couple of $1,000 a month, and you should have the wherewithal in case you don't rent it out on Airbnb that you can handle that. But here's what many people do. They rent it for $2,000 and then they rent it out for a couple of $100 a night at a daily rate. And they rent it out for, let's say, 20 times a month. Now, maybe when you first get started, it's only 10 times a month, but you're covering your costs. But if you go up to 15 or 20 nights a month that you're renting it out at $200 a month, do the math. You're bringing in $4,000 on Airbnb rentals, and that's gross because you do have to pay Airbnb and so forth. But you bring in $4,000, the rent payment's only $2,000. You're making 100% more than the cost of the rent on the property. You don't even own the apartment. And so you're making 100% more than the cost. Now you can deduct expenses. Maybe you hire a cleaning manager and so forth. And one of my colleagues that has a wonderful YouTube channel is Noelle Randall. And she really talks about how to do this. But let's connect the dots and add up how much money you could be making on a monthly basis. If you just found 25 apartments at $2,000 a month and you were bringing in $4,000 a month off of Airbnb, you don't own a single apartment. What does that equal? Now, if this is intriguing you and you can think of somebody who ought to hear this, watch this, share, click like, post a comment, subscribe to this 3-dimensional wealth channel. Why? Because I have over 500 educational YouTubes and I post at least 5 new ones every single week answering specific financial questions that have been asked anywhere from 300 to 3,000 times a month for the last several months. I'm going to share with you how you can learn more about optimizing your assets and minimizing taxes. But let's go ahead and do the math. If you understand the concept, you go out and you find in your area or any area that you want, because you don't have to live in the area if you hire, maintenance people, cleaning people. And Noelle Randall actually teaches you how to do this. But if you find some apartments that, or even single homes or condos, you simply rent them, let's say $2,000 a month. You turn around and you charge $200 a night. You get it up to 20 nights a month and you're bringing in double what the mortgage is or the rent is on that property. So you'd need 25 of those at $2,000 a month, and what are you bringing in? $50,000 a month. Now that's gross in this simple example. The gross amount, you'd have to subtract what you pay someone to come in and clean and change the linens or what have you after someone uses it. You know how to do that. You can figure out how to control your costs and expenses. But in some areas, people are able to rent out these apartments, these condos, these single resident homes that they are renting, and they don't even own it. They're not even buying it. And they are renting it out for triple and quadruple what the rent payment is. Do the math. So if you'd like to learn more about this, be sure and search my channel and feel free to look at Noelle Randall's channel. She's a great colleague. And I want to gift you a copy of my most recent best-selling book, because this will teach you how to optimize all of your assets. And my favorite vehicle is called the Laser Fund, and this is what many real estate investors or people who do this strategy, this is where they keep their working capital to be able to use, because it's liquid, it's safe, and it earns rates of return that are greater than the net cost of the mortgage or the money or the rent. So let me show you how to get one. You simply go to Laser Fund, Laser fund.com, or click on the link below. You contribute a nominal amount towards the shipping and handling. This is a 300-page book. I'll fire out a copy to you. And this will have all kinds of charts and graphs and examples, but if you like to learn by stories, you flip it over. And I have 12 chapters just full of 62 client stories that use the laser fund for all kinds of goals: retirement, emergency funds, working capital for business, but real estate management. Because even though they make a lot of money with concepts renting out properties, they keep their working capital, a positive cash flow, deposited safely in their laser fund. So claim your free copy and view the other videos on this channel that relate to this topic, and here's to your brighter future.